Time to welcome in the hardest duo in the college basketball hoops when it comes to Jerry, Palm, and Matt Norlander. These guys will be busy for the next couple of months. And Jerry, I'll start with you. Oregon getting the sweep of UCLA. That's good, but not good enough because you had them in that first four out.
Yeah, the problem is they've done a lot of damage to their tournament prospects outside of those 3 wins against the LA schools, and they're going to get USC at home this weekend, and that'll be an important game for them. But, this is a team that was swept by Arizona State. They lost at home to Colorado. They lost at home to Cal. They lost to Stanford. I mean, it's just a lot of losses, a very inconsistent team, and in a league where all of these losses are worse than they would be for teams similarly placed in different leagues, except maybe the ACC. So, it's a lot of damage that they still have to make up for. And that really the way Oregon has gone this year, they'll beat USC and get swept in Washington next week. They can't afford to do that either. They need to beat USC, but they also need to take care of business next week too.
Jerry just hit on it. This is why I'm dubious with Oregon. They've got another opportunity, sure, at home on Saturday against USC. A USC team that needed 2 overtimes to get past a 3-win Oregon State team. That was USC on Thursday night. Now, Oregon's going to get that Trojans team on Saturday, and then it's on the road against the Washington schools. I remain suspicious that Oregon can actually get the wins it needs to get in order to make it into the field. It's a quality roster from a talent perspective, but they've fallen short of expectations this season so far.
Duck's trying to keep trending in the Pac-12, as you mentioned. Indiana able to stop the bleeding against Maryland, Jerry. They're also in that first 4 out. Is a little bit too late when you look at what they've done so far this season.
Well, it's not too late because they still have, 3 regular season games left, and they've got to win, these next couple because they finish at Purdue. And you don't want to be in a position where you absolutely have to win at Purdue to feel like you've got any chance, even in the conference tournament, to make it as an at-large team. So, if they can win these next couple, and then, even if they lose to Purdue, they'll have a chance to pick up some quality wins in the conference tournament and possibly still play their way in. But if they're stumbling into that game at Purdue and they've got to win that one, they're probably not going to make it.
Tell you what, I really like Indiana's talent a lot. Trace Jackson-Davis, Xavier Johnson played well on Thursday, and then Race Thompson has really come along strong. They actually have enough of a nucleus there that if Indiana is in the field, whether that lands on a 12 line or 11 or a 10, no matter where, I actually think Indiana could be one of those double-digit seeds. We always see at least one, almost always see at least one break through to the second weekend. Indiana maybe could be that kind of team because ultimately they just have the guys to do it. Mike Woodson's been up and down in his first season, no doubt about it, and Indiana fans didn't think they'd be in this spot. In the preseason into mid-December, the Hoosiers were projecting as a comfortable NCAA tournament team, and now it's a little bit of deja vu all over again. This is a program that hasn't made the NCAAs in a half decade there. If they can get right, to me, Trace Jackson-Davis has been a top 15 player in America this season in a very crowded race for first, second, third team All-America. Keep an eye on that going forward. They need to get the wins, as Jerry said, but if they can get in there, I actually think their personnel allows them to be a decent kind of sleeper, upset potential kind of team.
All right, we'll see how it pans out for them the rest of the season. Meanwhile, in the ACC, UNC, 2 straight wins for them. They have 3 games remaining on their schedule. Jerry, if they're able to kind of run the table, could they make some noise here down the stretch?
They pretty much have to run the table because the 2 games before they play Duke in, Coach K's last home game at Duke, those are games that can only hurt you. And North Carolina can't afford any more games that hurt them. They have a terrible record against better opposition. The only win they have over a team that might make the NCAA tournament right now is the home win over Michigan back in December. Nobody's made the tournament since 1998 without a win over another team in the field. So, it's important for North Carolina to beat somebody who might make the tournament from this league. But until then, they have to win the 2 games leading up to Duke and then take their chances with the Blue Devils.
Yeah, North Carolina's 41st in the net, as you see here right now. Their best team sheet metric as of today is 27th in strength of record, but Jerry's on it. I'll be in Durham next weekend for Coach K's final home game. Cameron, of course, Carolina will be there for the annual rivalry game. I'll be intrigued to see where UNC stands at that point. You see the next 2, got to win those. I would say just a quick injection of my opinion here. Right now, UNC has 1 quad 1 win. I'm borderline demanding that there be an official rule that if you come from a power conference and you don't win at least 2 games against quad 1 competition, you should not be under consideration for an at-large because these teams in power leagues get enough opportunities in their conference to prove it. So I'm speaking something obvious here, but UNC's not going to get in if it only has 1 quad 1 win. That will not happen. And it's interesting to me, a year ago, Jerry, we were talking about Duke would it or wouldn't it not get in, and it faded stretch, and now their rival a year later, it's kind of the same deal. Now they're kind of playing for their life game by game.
This is a power conference in name only, though. Really, the only team you beat that can help you, that definite quad one win, is Duke. Nobody else is, even on the road, some of them are, but at home, like Notre Dame and some of these other teams, they aren't quad one wins. Some of the other better teams in this league aren't quad one wins even at home this year.
But Jerry, agree or disagree? If an at-large candidate from a power conference has only logged one quad one win in the season, they should not be under consideration getting the field, right? They should not be in the field.
And in fact, in almost every case, the rest of their resume, they're going to have so many losses against that one win that they're not even close.
All right. Well, you guys keep that same energy because I want to talk about the last four in. I like it. The back and forth there.
Let's go.
Matt, that same energy here with the last four in. Who has the toughest schedule when you look at those four teams?
Of the four that you have there, I'd say, I guess it's got to be Michigan. They've got more than anyone else. I mean, Wake is in a weird spot, but it's clearly Michigan. They have more games: Illinois, Michigan State, Iowa, Ohio State. They're all tournament level teams, so it's got to be the Wolverines, and they don't even have their head coach at the moment there for the rest of all these games. So it's kind of clearly Michigan at this point, among again these four last in, according to Jerry. By the way, I said this on Eye on College Basketball. My prediction is Michigan's not getting in the NCAA tournament. I don't think it's got the toughest schedule. I actually think it's going to play itself out and wind up being a 1 seed in the NIT.
Yeah, Michigan, I agree. I mean, Michigan's schedule is clearly the toughest. When you look at the quality of the opposition, even though they get the first three of those games at home, part of a 4-in-a-row streak at home that started with the win over Rutgers the other night, no Juwan Howard is a problem, but it's nice to have Phil Martelli to turn to as opposed to some assistant who's never been a head coach before. But still, it's asking a lot for Michigan to win, 3 of these 4 games to go into the Big Ten tournament feeling like you've got something of a chance. These 4 games are going to get played in 8 days, starting with Sunday through the next Sunday. That's a very compressed schedule. It's asking a lot of this Michigan team to take on that level of talent in such a short period of time and come out with the wins that they need.
Quickly, before I let you guys go, what bubble game you're watching this weekend? Matt, I'll start with you.
I'm watching Loyola Chicago at Northern Iowa. In my opinion, Loyola Chicago can't afford to lose this game and actually have a viable at-large resume here. The Ramblers, if anything, might be getting by on some name recognition in the eyes of some, not necessarily Jerry. But if you look at their quad 1, quad 2 records, they got a quad 3 loss. It really doesn't stack up well. I think if they were to lose on the road, while it would be an understandable loss because Northern Iowa isn't a bad team, I think basically Loyola Chicago would put itself into a situation where it absolutely had to win the Valley Championship in order to get into the field.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. And Loyola, by the way, won't even be the regular season champion if they don't beat Northern Iowa this weekend. The game that I'm watching is Wisconsin at Rutgers. Rutgers, of course, has been trying to make this great run to erase all of the sins of November and December, and actually some later than that, on their tournament resume, beat 4 ranked teams in a row before losing at Purdue and then at Michigan. Now they get Wisconsin at home. Rutgers has got to take care of that game if they've got any chance to make the NCAA tournament because they've been a home court hero. And if you're not going to win the games away from home, or not very many of them, then you've got to take care of business at home. Although, ironically, they did win at Wisconsin, and that is their big road win of the year.
All right, jam-packed weekend for everybody in college basketball. The debate team, as always, appreciate your time. Jerry Palm and Matt Norlander checking here on HQ. Don't forget the conversation continues on the Eye of College podcast. Had to get that out real quick. Download. You got the
3 times, real fast.
Nah, I can't say it. The way this tongue works, I can't do it. But Gary Parrish and Matt Norlander always giving us everything. Thursdays was the mailbag. So they answered some questions for you guys on that. And also, GP talking about his arm wrestling strength. Don't know what direction they went with that, but I would listen to that. You guys can listen. Just download and follow.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.